So we are live, Steve. We are live on LinkedIn as well as Twitter on my account. And welcome, Steve, and welcome everyone. And so today's topic is about mastermind groups, and it is a very, very dear topic to me because I've been pitched a lot of times about mastermind groups, and my knowledge about mastermind, Steve, actually started when I read this book, Think and Grow Rich, many years back. And when Napoleon Hill said that importance of mastermind group, and I started looking towards it. So I understand how they are important, and I wanted you, because you have ran many masterminds yourself, and I thought it'll be great to have you and speak about why they are important and what should we do and which one should we assign and what do we get out of them. So before I start asking you a bunch of questions, I need to I would like to introduce you and to everyone. Steve is a podcast host. He is a professional speaker. He's a TEDx speaker, and he owns a run a coaching business, and he has many coaches assigned in his group. And I'm fascinated with your 45 minute challenge also. Maybe I will get to that later on, but I want to know today, so if I've missed something, would you like to say something more about yourself so that the audience knows about you?
I've also written 8 books too, and all around business for business
Okay.
owners.
So eight, one or two is okay, but
Yeah,
eight,
nothing else to
yeah.
do.
Yeah. So it's great. So we will get to that maybe next time. And like I have many questions about. So for the housekeeping, I would like everyone to send their questions on and write their questions, and I will see them, and I'll try to speak and ask questions to Steve. And this is being recorded, and it is right now live, and it will be shown later on also on LinkedIn. So now, my first question to you is very basic question for those who don't know. What is a mastermind group exactly?
It's a group of people, like-minded individuals, so they all have to be in the same kind of spirit, who are getting together, solving each other's problems, if you will, in a supportive environment and sharing their knowledge and resources. It's a collective. Kind of think of it like your non-paid advisory group, if that's something. And they're on your side. So they're not trying to get money out of you, or you got to buy my knowledge and buy my junk. It's we all have business. It's usually business people. It depends. It could be different kinds of mastermind groups, but what I have is business people in there, and they put out a problem. Something like, I have problems retaining employees. Guess what? I can guarantee you there's another person in that room has the exact same problem and is afraid to ask that question, but you did. And guess what? The group can now brainstorm, use all that brain power and solve that problem. Not only for that individual who asked it, but for everyone else in that room. So it's
Yeah,
quite
no,
a powerful experience.
it is quite powerful. So what it is not. So what do you think? Many you have explained me what it is, but some people may have an idea. But maybe explain it in a way it says it is not. Maybe it is not a uh, selling or lead generation activity or something like that. What do you like to say?
Yeah, it's not like your typical, like a networking group. And I hear this a lot. Well, a mastermind's like any kind of a networking group. It's not even close. Will
Mhm.
you network with everyone in there? Absolutely. But you're not getting up there every meeting and giving your elevator pitch and going basically buy my junk. You're
Mhm.
not doing that. It's you leave all that out. You get to know each other on a deep level. And throughout the course of the mastermind group, usually about a year plus, you really get to develop bonds with people on a deeper level. You're going to go have coffee with them. You're going to really get to know their business through the group. But the intention is, do not sell your stuff in the group. You're not there self-promoting. You're there to share, to give, and to receive.
Okay, that's fantastic. And what do you think? What is the right group for me? How do I determine? that?
Yeah, that's always a tough question because I have also been asked to join other people's mastermind groups. I'm currently in 2 mastermind groups. Each of them have a different purpose altogether, so they don't overlap. That's the key: is find the group. What is your goal? What are you trying to do? Is it for your business? Is it for your personal life? Maybe you want a speaking career. You want to write a book. There are mastermind groups just for people who want to write books. So they solve a lot of problems. So you have to find the right group for you and what you want to accomplish. It's out there. And don't hop into any group thinking, oh, well, I'm going to write a book and I need to be around people who are in the same position as me or more advanced or a little less, all different levels. And the next thing you know, you're in a group trying to figure out how to do lead gen. It won't connect, and you're going to be the lost. You're going to be going, why am I here? Why am I paying money to be here? So you got to really find the right group for you.
And yeah, right group for me, and based on my objective, you said. And I see even if I say my objective is to solve or to grow my business, suppose, right? And I go into I see there are many mastermind groups available, and sometimes it can be from 500 a month to even $50,000 a month, right? So and there may be many on that. How do I see which is the best one from them, even within the focus you have, growing my company or solving my problems? What do I do?
Yeah, a lot of the big thing is you should always meet with the facilitator first. So I'm building a new mastermind group. I am vetting every single individual. So I do have a questionnaire. We go through it. I evaluate them as well. When we get into the meeting, we also get together for like a preliminary mastermind group to have everyone introduce themselves. And then I go back as a facilitator to each individual. Who did you really bond with? Who didn't you? What do you think of? If you were the facilitator, who would you say yay or nay to? You get a lot of feedback. That is actually great feedback, because if you have a bad vibe as the facilitator about an individual, or you get them together for this like get together as a prelim, and that person is just selling their junk the whole time and everyone else is turned off, you got to get rid of that individual.
Yeah.
Because it's going to hurt the group as a whole. So that to get into the right group as an individual, talk to the facilitator. Who do you have in this group? What are the objectives of the group? What are the goals of the group? So in mine, it's an elite mastermind. And the whole point of it is to double your profit, not revenue, profit. So we're going to get into obviously from lead gen all the way through systems, personnel, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a full year of agenda, and I'm more than happy to show it to people when they come in. That also gives them the confidence. Am I in the right group for me?
Oh, so we will come to that agenda thing later, but I want to know, okay, or maybe I ask you right now. You just said you have a full year of agenda. What does that mean? So isn't that the mastermind is supposed to meet every time and have a same agenda, and we go through and ask, say, hey, who has the major problem this time?
Yes.
Who is the hot seat? And ask the question, and then we answer the questions, and then we go home after a beer or a coffee or a
Well, I
lunch.
have an agenda per meeting, but I have a subject matter. That's what I have as my agenda. Like, what are we going to talk about? What's our focus on this month? Because it's usually 12 people in a mastermind, which is a magic number. So everyone can get in the hot seat at least one time, a minimum one time a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I also add the element of a hot seat coach. So someone who works with whoever's going to be in the hot seat to get their question down to one, like laser focused question that they can pose to the group. Now they're going to get a bigger bang for their buck. When you have someone in the hot seat who doesn't really know, like, everything's good in my business, that hurts the group. But if you have someone in the hot seat going, here, set up the scenario, and then give out that laser focused question that the problem is, the group now can actually give you better answers, results, resources. The agenda I have is like, hey, this month we're going to also talk about marketing, besides having someone in a hot seat, besides going around and talking and sharing. But let's talk about focus on marketing. And I might throw it out a couple questions and open up the room.
Hmm.
That sparks so much creativity. And that's where I learn a lot too. But that could be the topic per month. And the stuff that comes out, like I've tried this and this and this, and it didn't work. And someone might have that one way going, have you ever looked at it this way? And everyone in the room will just freeze and go, what was that again? And because it's a new way of thinking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that triggers 500 things in our heads, all of our heads, because we're all entrepreneurs in there. And it's like that one question could spark so much revenue. It's powerful.
And sometimes it like I believe that it is not about giving a solution, it is about asking the right questions. And do you all okay, and,
Yeah.
and and does that help also, or no?
Oh, absolutely. None of us like to be told what to do. We didn't like it when we were kids when mom and dad said, clean your room. We're not going to like it now as entrepreneurs and adults. So, what I always tell, what we train is don't just say, well, you need to do this. No one likes that. But if you said, hey, here's something I've done and I looked at it from this point of view and here was the results. Okay. Now they're sharing their experience, or they say, have you ever tried this? And whoever's in the hot seat just has to say yes or no, not give a full explanation, because you're at the moment of receiving, not sharing and giving.
Hmm.
Because what they might say next might be the golden key. And if you start giving that explanation, yeah, I tried it and it didn't work and I'll never do it again, you could have just shut out the golden key.
You just talked about the hot seat. How does that work? You have, suppose in your group you have 12, and who gets to come there first and who is the last?
Well, we actually ask who wants the first.
Does anybody wants to be the first or
Who
not?
wants to be the first one's always the hard one. And you know
Yeah.
what? You're not alone. So we coach you through it. But what happens too, it's usually someone who's the most extroverted is the first one, and whoever's the most introverted is the last. But at every meeting, like, who would like to go next? Now
Okay,
we know
I
who's next.
thought there will be people who would say me first, and then there is some kind of a ticketing, or maybe a lucky lottery system where you say who was first. I don't know, but you
I just been doing it that way for years, and it's been exciting
working
and
fine.
fun. So when four people at once say, I want to go next, I look at everyone else. I go, okay, the nine of us in the room, who do you guys want to hear next? And then
Oh,
now we'll maybe set up the next quarter with that, because those four people said yes right away.
yeah. And you talked about that you also have a criteria or requirements of joining a mastermind. I'm sure other groups also have the same similar process. And it's not about whoever brings the most money gets in, or whoever brings the ticket money gets in. It has to be the right person and right attitude and all that. No, apart from that, what other requirements are there apart from the money and fees?
Mhm. If there was one mastermind group I ran, the requirement, you had to be in business at least a minimum of 5 years. You had to gross 3 million, and the reason was the entrepreneurs that approached us in that for that group were above 3 million, and they all requested, I don't want anyone new. Don't bring in a startup into this group because they're going to be lost. So that was our requirement. And then they had to have at least 5 employees. Another
Mhm.
reason was talking to the prospects who wanted to come into the group. They're like, I don't want to be in a group where someone doesn't have an employee. They will not understand me or what I'm going through. So we had that criteria. So we had businesses everywhere from 5 million to 33 million in there. And it was amazing that they all can speak the same lingo. But the guy at 33 million was definitely speaking a different language than the 5 million. But they understood each other because they had employees, they've been in business for a long time, totally different industries, and
Mhm.
everything they said to each other related to each other.
Yeah. And sometimes, Steve, people talk about yeah, like we talked about various types of groups and growth and all that. There are certain growths which are industry related, right?
Mhm.
And what do you suggest? Are industry related groups good, or function related groups are, or objective related groups are good? What do you think?
I think they're great too, because I was invited to analyze a couple just industry related groups. So they were, you had to be, one was only being a realtor and a certain type of realtor. So it was for
Mhm.
commercial real estate. So if you sold homes, you couldn't get into this group. But if you sold commercial real estate and you've been in business so long and had so many staff members, they would let you in. When I got in there, because they're using terminology and language that they use daily. So an outsider like me, I had to write note. I was writing notes going, what does that acronym mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? But they all get each other. The reason they all came to each other is like they felt like they were silos all alone in their industry. They came together. They were not competitors. So they were in different parts of the state, and they
Mhm.
came together once a month to talk, and they all their businesses grew exponentially because they shared knowledge from, you're doing this, I'd never even heard of that, and they were sharing all these strategies and closing tips, and I was just blown out of the water. But it was very industry specific because that was their whole goal, to grow their businesses in that industry.
And it may be possible that a person, a entrepreneur, can join two groups, and one can be an industry, and one can be growth related, and or business related, and one can be something else, right? And it is their own choice, right?
Oh yeah,
And
you can join as many as you like. I mean, at one
yeah,
time I was running two and I was in two, and all four of them were not related.
yeah. And then you learn a lot, you help each other, you bond with them. It becomes some kind of a, like, I use the word, it is a wisdom from the trenches, because actually you're talking to those people who have actually seen these kind of problems, or are solving those problems daily, or at least experiencing them daily, and then you can collaborate with them and solve the problems. Now, when we talk about different groups, industry related group or a growth related group, what happens, and how do you actually take care that two people of the same industry doesn't come inside that, or maybe they are competitors or from the same state, or something like that? Do you get that kind of a scenario?
Yeah, I in one of the masterminds I facilitated, the rule was no two people from the same industry. And the sole purpose is because if you have, let's say you and I are both realtors and we both sell commercial real estate and we're both in the same city and we're competing against each other. Do you think either of us are going to open up about how our marketing strategies or our
Yeah,
businesses? We're going to be really close-lipped,
yeah.
or it's going to be generic answers. So the group I had was no one from the same industry can be in it. And then I've also ran a group that was all insurance agents. So it was very varied. And the group I'm forming now, I am not restricting anything like that because I'm going more, well, North American. So it's anyone from North America. So their odds are they're not going to be in the same city. The odds
Yeah.
are low.
So that means it leads me to the next question. It seems like COVID has opened the market a lot more geographically, and now people don't need to be in the same city to be in the mastermind group. So you're going entire North America, and 12 chosen people will be in part of your group.
Absolutely. And I even did virtual before the pandemic. I had we had a mastermind group. I shared the facilitation with another coach. We did it all virtual because we didn't want to just keep it to a room or a locality. And the people that were in the group were all from, I think, 7 states
Hmm.
total. And
Hmm.
it really helped because we got to do it later at night. So everyone's at home, a little bit more relaxed. We said, don't worry about business garb, don't worry about your hair and all that.
Yeah.
And it was a relaxed group, but they gained so much out of it because they got their work done and now they get to come home, eat dinner, deal with the kids, and now they get to go to a mastermind group.
Yeah. So I don't have any more questions on Mastermind Group, and if any of our audience has any question, please write down, and I will speak on your behalf, and Steve can answer it. He has tons of experience running the masterminds and being a part of the masterminds, and it is one of the most important strategies, I guess, Steve. If I can say, one of the most important things that an entrepreneur can do in this tough economics and situation is to be a part of the group and
Yeah,
get a support from each other rather than being a part of somebody who's trying to sell his next course to you, right? So
that's
I,
it.
I see a lot of people who are just doing a few conferences here and there, and I have been to a couple of them. I don't want to name them, and they just seem like they're doing a conference as a feeding ground for they to hunt their next thing for their groups and all that, and they're just selling, and it was so disgusting to see that. But I think it's better to get hold of uh, individuals and coaches or other leaders or entrepreneurs like you, I guess. And so now my last question to you. I am curious when I look at your LinkedIn banner and it says 45 minutes and you will uncover 50 to 100K. How good is this? Or is it?
It's darn good. I do use proprietary software with it, and
Okay.
what I do is I run a business owner via Zoom, and I just ask them questions about their business. I take that data, put it into the software, let it run through its 497 million algorithms, and I'm showing them the results from different areas. So we look at 12 different areas to start off with in one of our modules. I'll get through like maybe 2 to 3 of those areas in 45 minutes, and that'll be enough just to find that. But then it also gives us an implementation schedule. So let's not just talk about it on paper, on computer. Now we have an implementation schedule on how we're going to step by step go and get that revenue and turn it into reality.
Hmm.
And that's where we come in coaching them as well.
Okay.
And then we have another part of our module. I can look at 40 different areas of a business. And it's once someone becomes a client, we'll go through that 40 areas. And I've heard this time and time again. Every time I run a business through it, they always say the same thing. It's like, I just learned more about my own business than I ever have. Because I'm
Yeah.
asking questions that they've never even questioned themselves or thought about of their own business.
Yeah.
And that's normal, don't think of it negative. We're business owners. It happens. It's life. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a coach. We see things that you haven't seen yet, or you have your blinders on getting that next sale. We're here to open that up a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think this is everybody. Like when I grew up, Steve, I never taught to be a part of the group, and I didn't grow up in America. I don't know how it was here, but now I see every, even a Fortune 500 company CEO or a billionaire, everyone has a mastermind group. Everyone is a part of a coach, or everyone. So that opens my eyes and say, how do this? Otherwise, I was growing up in an environment where people had lots of ego if they rise up the ladder, and they don't want to be seen as part of any group or any coach or something. And how can you, a CEO, have a coach? But now it's different. Or was it like that before also here?
I
Or
think it
has it
was, but
changed
it
now?
wasn't known. It wasn't out there as much.
Okay.
I remember this is going back probably about a decade or so. I think it was Fortune 500. They ranked their top 500 companies, and they had a follow in one of the articles in that same magazine. They go, "Do you need a coach?" And they go, 499 of the top 500 CEOs all have a coach, not one coach, but up to 5, 6 coaches on all
Wow.
different things, finance, business, all these things. They said the one guy, the one individual who did not have a coach was the number 500, but he also started and failed 12 prior businesses. And they said, don't you think he learned a thing or two?
Yeah,
So
because
that just showed you, and we're talking Microsoft, we're talking some
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Heavy hitters here.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised also. No, and thank you very much for your time. I think I wanted to have a very short discussion and very crisp discussion about Mastermind and why they are needed, not why they are needed, because there is so much of information or people are seeking a lot about that. And I had a bad experience of sitting through a couple of conferences where I was like sold so much that I felt like disgusting to even move out of that place, and it was very difficult to come out of that meeting. So it's good. I wanted to share with everyone that there are other good places where they can be a part of the groups and learn from them. So thank you very much, Steve, and I would like to bring you again on the channel once again. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. And I hope whoever the listeners are hearing it, and if they're not in a mastermind group, think about it, but find the right one for you. That's what I always say. It's like, it might not be mine, it might be someone else. Just find the one for you. That's the key.
Thank you.
Take care of
Thank you,
yourself.
Steve. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.